And you seem pretty familiar with him because he doesn't really hide his association with this real wild plot that involves, drinking the blood of children and things like that.
No, he doesn't hide it at all. And you have a lot of people who are in this world of QAnon who say, oh, they don't know what that is. They've never heard of it. They're just asking questions. With somebody like Jim Caviezel, he is openly embracing it. And this film is being marketed to either specific QAnon believers or to people who believe all of the same tenets as QAnon, but claim they don't know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue of sex trafficking. But that theme, it's sort of like that kernel of truth that feeds the QAnon conspiracy theory. Tell us how those two things work together.
Sure. And the most durable and the most believable conspiracy theories are not entirely false. There's something in them that is true, and the rest of it is false. But the believers point to the one true thing and they say, oh, you don't believe that this particular thing is true. In terms of child trafficking, we know trafficking is real. We know it has real victims. No one is denying that. But these films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites, and only people like Tim Ballard and only people like Jim Caviezel, and by extension, only people like the ticket buyer can help bring these trafficking rings down. So there's a very participatory element.
Man, I am so shocked that this movie is getting so much negative feedback, so much backlash, so many people upset and saying that it's like a QAnon or whatever anti-child trafficking film. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? How do you have an anti-child trafficking film? You try to make, like Babylon B says, you try to make a movie exposing the pedophile ring and child traffickers, and but then you end up making the child traffickers, the bad guys. Ah, damn it, But it's like, what the fuck? I just don't understand. But so I ended up going to see Sound of Freedom, and the movie is fantastic. Everyone needs to watch it. Jim Caviezel is great in it, playing the very real Tim Ballard, and congratulations for having it finally be released. Apparently, it was made 5 years ago by Fox, and then when Disney acquired Fox, they pretty much got rid of it, and then finally sold it to Angel Studios. And Angel Studios is going pretty well right now, right? There's like a Christian network, and they're the ones that have The Chosen on right now. So I think that they're doing pretty damn well. It's like another production company like the Daily Wire, I can't believe it. But yeah, I'm just so surprised about all this backlash, and it's kind of interesting how, the film is about trafficked children, and it's funny that people here are trying to discredit and discourage this film, and it's like, wait, I thought this was a good thing. I thought this film was supposed to shine light on something that's actually going on in the world. Our children, as they say, God's children are not for sale. And why would you be upset? Like, why don't you just let the movie be and just, succeed? But we all know that some of these elites are probably people that would have been on that island, someone that would have been searching for those things or wanting to see children like that. You never know. But for the amount of backlash that's going on, I mean, you would imagine it to almost be so. But so the film stars, like I said, Jim Caviezel as Tim Ballard, who was an actual guy who, was in national security, and his job was to take down pedophiles. And it shows, the struggle that he went through and everything that he dealt with. He had like 6 kids, damn. I honestly thought the movie was going to go the route of one of his kids being abducted because he was going in so deep, but I'm glad it didn't go that route. I mean, The Drinker said it best. This isn't an action film. It's definitely a movie that just discusses the horrors and realities of trying to save these kids, especially when they're out of the country and scattered throughout the world. But I genuinely enjoyed the movie. I mean, I definitely teared up a couple times. I mean, gosh, when the father's reunited with his daughter at the end, oh gosh, it's just so heartwarming. Such a heavy scene, and the child actors are just fantastic. They're just so believable. They play their roles to the T. I mean, Jim Caviezel just has so much emotion. I mean, like I said, if this was an action movie, I could understand people wanting to like bash it and say all this stupid shit about it. But honestly, even if it was an action movie, it would just be that much more exciting, you know, whereas this one's, it's just the bleak realism, you know, of trying to save children and bring these families together. So for people to sit there and say that it's actually just for white people, or it's for people that are very patriotic to feel good about themselves, and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, not that many films are like that, you know. There's not that many films that people can just go to and then leave feeling something. Maybe even if it's a war movie, maybe, but you know, usually it's just action and excitement, and then you forget about it the next day. Unless you really enjoyed it, maybe you'll forget about it in like a week, you know. And this is something that is supposed to stay with you. It's meant to be a staple in cinema, almost, of like, yeah, this is not only based on true events, but it's still going on today. You know, there's a lot more people in slavery than there were when black people were enslaved. You know, when niggas were fucking actually enslaved here on plantations and shit, all this BLM bullshit nonsense that they want to pretend that we're still in. There's more slaves now than there were then. And a lot of them are our children, in fact. And it's just so sad that we can march the streets for equality, but there's literally kids, you know, being trafficked, people being trafficked, sex slaves, all that shit still going on. You know, it's wild. It's a great movie. You got to check it out. Midnight's Edge did a great video on how and why people are freaking out for whatever reason, because I'm not going to get into the articles, but I'll put his video link in the description because it was pretty good. But other than that, you know, yeah, please watch Sound of Freedom. It's fantastic. Bring as many people as you can. Get them as much money as they can. And, you know, let's try to, if we can, save some of these kids. This has been Ghost in the Craig. Thank you so much for watching, like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.
So why is the media warning people not to see a movie about child sex trafficking that's based on a true story? Well, the Spear Fund founder, Tim Ballard, joins me now. So, Tim, why is the media hating this movie?
You know, I can't understand it. The film was made, produced, written like 6 years ago, way before anyone heard the name QAnon. I still don't even know what QAnon is. In the meantime, they're trying to connect it to some conspiracy when, in fact, like you said, this is a true story. These are real kids. I mean, these kids are my friends. They're young adults now, the ones that were rescued. They're going to come out soon and tell their story. It's going to be very awkward when the mainstream media comes after these kids next and accuses them of being part of some conspiracy when, in fact, they were rescued from a life of rape. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in the media, perhaps.
I mean, this publication says The Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brain worms, and that it fetishizes the torture of its child victims. Is that what the movie does?
It absolutely does not do that. It tells a story based in truth. And, you know, what I think is happening, Jesse, I think that the left and these media outlets, they don't want to have a discussion that this film is going to compel. A discussion about why 85,000 children showed up unaccompanied at the border and got released into the interior of a country that is the highest consuming country for child exploitation material on the planet. They don't want to talk about why these same publications are pushing an agenda to change the word pedophile to minor attracted persons in order to normalize sexual activity with children. I think that's what they're trying to avoid, and they know this film is going to shine a light on all of the things, all the atrocities happening to children, and so they have to discredit it by lying about it.